a very warm welcome to one and all. I'm Neha and you join me on the Facebook page of Newsline. We're live and we go live with the biggest update of the hour. The Sushant Singh Rajput death case seems to be getting murkier with each passing day. There's no denying, of course, it. But it's been over 2 months since the actor allegedly died by suicide. Ever since, there have been some or the other rumors surrounding the case. And today, in what comes as a big win for Sushant Singh Rajput's family members, fans, the case has been shifted to the CBI by the Supreme Court. The CBI will now investigate the mysterious death of the actor. After utter chaos, confusion, the case has finally been handed over to the CBI. Sushant Singh's father, remember, KK Singh, had registered an FIR in Patna in which he had made some serious allegations against Riya Chakraborty, who also happens to be Sushant Singh Rajput's girlfriend, and her family. So the actor in turn had moved the Supreme Court seeking the transfer of FIR from Patna to Mumbai. The Bihar government had also requested for a CBI probe while the Maharashtra government had opposed the decision. But today, finally, in what comes as a massive relief and of course as a big win also, the Supreme Court has decided to to let the CBI probe the case. Now, joining me over the phone line, in fact, joining me live is Mr. Shekhar Suman, who's been leading the fight from the front. Thank you so very much, Mr. Suman, first of all, for joining us. Now, the first question that I'd like to ask you, sir, how important is a CBI probe in SSR's mysterious death case? How do you see this development?
No, I think it's a great development. I mean, that's precisely what we have been fighting for all this while, because CBI would probably look into it without any bias, and I think today's the Honorable Supreme Court has ordered in favor of the CBI inquiry, which is like a day of triumph. I think it's a victory of truth. It's a victory of about 1.3 billion people of this country, their emotions, victory of hope and faith, and I would agree that there were moments of despair when we thought that the case was not going anywhere. And there were far too many theories to deal with. I think it follows as a logical conclusion that it should be handed over to CBI so that they can look into it in a very unbiased sort of way.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Suman, you've also been campaigning for justice for SSR, as I said. What, in your view, is justice in this particular case? Do you blame Riya Chakraborty?
No, I'm not here to blame anybody. I think that's why we are asking for a CBI inquiry. It's their job to get inquire and investigate and probe and just find out the truth and see who are the people involved in this and bring them to books and punish them. So, as I said, these would be half concocted theories if we are blaming anybody. I mean, there are facts and evidences pointing towards, presumably, a few people, but CBI, I think would lead us all towards the right direction.
All right. So, Shekhar, how would you reflect on the nepotism debate, which still seems to be at the center of this case?
Right now, all these debates can probably take a back seat, and as I was saying right from the beginning, it is not the debate about nepotism so much as it is about gangism in the industry, and that's a debate that can probably occupy a different space when we get around to talking post CBI inquiry and when the truth comes out. That nepotism, I think that's prevalent everywhere, and that would happen. What we should be wary of and what we should guard against is gangism, where a few powerful people get together and form a nexus and a caucus, and then they start controlling the entire industry. I mean,
so are you saying that Bollywood gang exists and they control most of the futures of the newcomers?
Yes, I mean, yes, of course. They control everything. I mean, these are the people because, there will be big-time producers, directors, distributors, exhibitors, all of them get together and then they decide the fate of all the actors. And the smaller ones don't count and they're not allowed to enter inside the caucus. And the ones who are inside are bound by a very evil, wicked contract. And they are sort of navigated and they're controlled by this nexus. They decide which are the movies they're going to do, which are they not going to do. And they better be yes men, because the moment if they, like Sushant, they put their foot down and assert themselves, then the problem begins.
All right. So how difficult is it, on the same lines, of course, how difficult is it really for someone outside the industry to make a mark? You being someone who's, self-made, tell us about the difficulties you may have faced.
As I said that, of course, the difficulties for everyone, even for the insiders, outsiders, I mean, the so-called theory of insiders outside, but anybody who's coming from outside, I mean, this industry doesn't welcome everyone. You have to just keep fighting all the time. You have to prove your worth over and over again. You have to be successful, continue.
Brushes you aside. It's a very daunting task. It's a difficult task for newcomers, and to enter that coterie, it becomes increasingly difficult. But as I said, this is the industry that everybody chooses where they are
open, and they know what the perils involved in this. But as I said, that you have to just keep fighting. You have to have nerves of steel. You have to
have a sense of perseverance and diligence that will take you forward. But yes, it's a difficult path. And as I said, if you don't become a part
of the caucus, then it becomes still more difficult.
Okay, that's a very big revelation here, Mr. Suman. But now that the Supreme Court has given a nod for the CBI probe, what message do you think it sends to the Maharashtra state government and most importantly, the Maharashtra police?
I think allow for a fair and free investigation. I think, there should be no intervention. There should be no ego hassles or ego tussles or,
about jurisdiction, etc. This should have been viewed, the entire thing, on humanitarian grounds. I mean, a life has been lost, and what came out was pointing towards something else, where it didn't seem like a case of suicide, and everybody, I mean, 1.3 billion people cannot be wrong, about like seeing the same evidences and coming to a conclusion that there is more than meets the eye. And
the way they treated the Bihar police, and then the fact that they lingered it on for so long. As I said, this procrastination was not necessary at all, because if they believed it was suicide, that the case should have been shut the first day itself. And if it wasn't, and if it was suicide, then what were they investigating about for about 60 days and still not lodge a FIR?
So do you also blame the Mumbai police for the delay, in justice in this particular case?
I guess so. I think that they should have kept everybody in the loop. They should have at least informed everyone what they were doing, and the fact that the key evidences were not being interrogated raised a lot of suspicions. It was only after a few people and all of us raised voices why it was going in a certain direction that people were called, and the fact that forensic experts turned up so late, 24 hours too late. The fact that a lot of key people were interrogated after 45, 50 days raised many questions, So I think this is just so right. I mean, the Supreme Court saw that, all of that, and took everything into account and finally ordered a CBI inquiry, which would be just and fair.
All right. So, Mr. Suman, all this while, Akshay Kumar, he's the superstar of Bollywood, of course, goes without saying, did not speak anything over the case. But today we saw his tweet. He has also welcomed the CBI probe. What is your view over it? And do you somewhere connect it to the bad trailer review that Alia Bhatt Sadak received?
People are scared now. They thought that, these are this is something that they should not pay heed to. I mean, big deal if people were shouting and they were creating a furor on the social media, that it really didn't matter. But then it was a huge eye-opener for all of them. So I right from the beginning, my stand was that, if you want to, I mean, it surprised me that nobody came forward and spoke anything and asked for a CBI inquiry. I wonder why. But then I said, to each his own. If they want to come around, fine. If they don't, it's still okay, because the Sushant fans,
huge in numbers, and that was enough. Except that, the industry, we expected the industry people to come forward and join hands for a fair inquiry, but that didn't happen. But in the wake of what has happened to,
the trailer of Sadak, and there were, I think, about 10 million dislikes, I think it's a wake-up call. It's a clarion call for the rest of them, and that it is important that, if the people, if the janta raises the questions, you better adhere to it and you better listen to them. So, you cannot cut yourself off and sit on a high horse thinking we are the big stars or superstars and that nothing is going to affect, because these are the people who are making you into a star or a superstar, and they can probably bring you down as well.
So what's your take on Karan Johar? He's also somebody who's been, blamed for the death of Sushant Singh Rajput. It's being said that he was mean to Sushant and whatnot. You know, that's the Twitter war that's currently going on. If you take what Kangana Ranaut has been outright saying, she's been blaming Karan Johar above all.
I think there were so many people to blame. I mean, you cannot just pinpoint anybody. I really don't know what has transpired. But yes, I think the people who have been named, they have been responsible in one way or the other of disturbing his mental equanimity, if not death. I mean, because you cannot point fingers and say that he was responsible for his death. But all of that contributed to that. That he was pushed and he was marginalized, he was trivialized, he was ostracized, and all of that. You see some of the full function that happened and how people made a very concerted effort to bring him down was not in good taste. And I think all of that and probably much more had an impact on his mind.
So, Mr. Suman, you see, this is perhaps one of the biggest cases that the country has seen in the recent past. Sushant Singh Rajput's death or murder. The question here is, what sort of impact does it make? Does it make on the people who really want to join Bollywood industry? And what's your message for those people who still somewhere are positive that they can make a mark?
See, look at it this way. Before the Me Too movement happened, there were wolves in the industry who are, having
Named
a
and
field
shamed
day.
now.
When it happened before
Sushant Singh, I think there was this whole fear psychosis in the industry that it was not safe for girls to be a part of the industry. And then the Me Too movement happened, and then everybody came out, and now the people who are responsible for it, they are scared. I mean, look at what happened to Harvey Weinstein there in America, and it's put behind bars for many years now. So people are scared now. I think what was happening in the industry in terms of newcomers or in terms of the caucus, etc., everything, the fact that people have come out in hoods, it's unfortunate that Sushant is gone, but he has left behind a legacy where there's going to be a level playing field in the industry where
the newcomers' parents are going to be very, very scared and apprehensive about
sending their children to Bombay because they stay alone and they get affected by all this that happens around them. But it's okay. I think industry is full of good people and bad people. There are good people and bad people everywhere. So this should not prove to be a deterrent. I think this is an eye-opener, and people should be encouraged to come here and just fight it out. And we are all there. I think now, even people are it's a huge force to reckon with, and they are all united. So they are going to decide the fate of the newcomers. So just be fearless and come.
Mr. Suman, lastly, do you really see Bollywood industry changing in the coming future? The Bollywood gang up, quote unquote, not really affecting people as they are.
Hope so. That's precisely what I said just now. This feel where everybody will survive and thrive and prosper on the sheer dint of their talent and merit, right? And that there would be nobody sort of telling them what to do or put them under some stupid contract where they are not able to kind of discover themselves or move ahead or become successful. So yes, I think this is as a huge wake up call. As I said, it's a clarion call for the rest of the industry. It sends out like very clear-cut messages that don't mess around with newcomers now. They are there because
but they are no less than anyone. They are no less than star sons. They are no less than nepophils, etc. Everything. They are there to stay. Give them a fair chance. Give them a fair deal, and that's what's going to happen. So the industry, of course, is going to go through a revolutionary change.
Very well said. Thank you very much, Mr. Shekhar Suman, for joining us on the Facebook page of Newsline. Well, there you have it. The Supreme Court